Now, there's been a lot of misinformation out there about the virus. And yes, the president has taken some liberties with our guidelines. So tonight, I would like to explain what the president was trying to say.
Then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection? Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light.
I know I shouldn't be touching my face, but... Now, there is a rumor that the president is going to fire me. Let's see what he said about that.
Today I walk in, I hear I'm going to fire him. I'm not firing him. I think he's a wonderful guy.
So yeah, I'm getting fired.
Brad Pitt portraying Dr. Anthony Fauci on Saturday Night Live. In an interview earlier this month, Fauci jokingly requested Pitt portray him on SNL. So he got that. He deserves it. Joining us now from the White House, NBC News correspondent Carol Lee. She has new reporting on Dr. Anthony Fauci's diminished presence at recent White House task force briefings, among other things that you're working on, Carol. So first of all, why not so much Fauci?
Well, that's the big question. There's been roughly 50 briefings over the past couple of months, and Dr. Fauci's missed some, here and there. But in last week, he was at 1 out of 7 briefings, which really has gained some notice. And it comes after, weeks of on and off administration officials saying the president's frustrated with the way that he disagrees with the president publicly. We saw that last week when the president said there might not be any coronavirus in the fall, and Anthony Fauci said, actually, there's definitely going to be coronavirus in the fall. He gave an interview to Time magazine where he said that he wasn't confident that we were where we were going to need to be on testing. The president then disagreed with him. So, an administration official tells us that, look, you got to give your advice privately. So clearly there is some frustration there. The public face of the White House is exactly what you just saw. No, I'm not going to fire Anthony Fauci. And actually, technically, the president can't fire Anthony Fauci. He could direct the Health and Human Services Secretary to then direct the head of the National Institutes of Health to get rid of Anthony Fauci, but it would have to be for cause. But his absence has certainly been noticed.
Interesting. We'll watch that dynamic play out. You're also covering this required by law transition planning conversation that needs to happen between the Biden camp, Joe Biden, and the Trump administration, President Trump. How's that going?
Well, that's what we're hoping to see. There's this first real legal test that facing the White House on Sunday, where it's a legal deadline. They're mandated by law to begin to stand up some sort of committees to coordinate with the Biden team on a transition. We spoke with some administration officials for agencies that are responsible for transition, such as the Office of Management and Budget, said that, they'll comply with the law. The General Services Administration also says they'll comply with the law. But when we asked the White House if the West Wing officials who are supposed to stand up a committee to coordinate with the Biden team plan on doing that, they had no comment. And that has raised some suspicions among Democrats who say that, it's a real question about whether this president will do what all past presidents have done, which has largely been a kind of a nonpartisan exercise of preparing potential successor for being able to take over the administration. One interesting fact about this is that we haven't seen a transition from an incumbent to someone who's defeated him since 1993. And so that really raises the stakes for this. And on top of that, you have a pandemic crisis, potential economic crisis, and a president who has really shown that he's not necessarily going to play by the rules. And so that's raising a lot of questions about whether this is going to proceed in the way it has proceeded in past administrations that we've seen recently.
All right, NBC's Carol Lee, thank you so much. Keep us posted on all of that. And coming up, more on that new reporting from the New York Times that nervous Republicans see Trump sinking and taking the Senate with him. Plus, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is going back to work today after recovering from the coronavirus. And he has a message of caution for Britain, saying it is too soon to ease lockdown measures. Richard Haass and Ed Luce join us for that. Morning Joe will be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.